is Rachael Scanlon. I'm 39 years old, from Sligo, and I'm a mother of two, Noah, aged 8, and Ruby, aged 6. My daughter Ruby has epilepsy. She has had seizures since the age of 16 months. Um, I've been a huge advocate for my daughter over the years. I have a good love for dance and drama, but in particular sport. And last year, I was at the peak of my fitness with running and played local soccer. Having ran the Warriors Run in August, which is up a mountain, a challenging 15-kilometer run. I got a new PB there. And 3 weeks prior to sudden onset, I ran the Sligo Coast to Coast, which is a 10-mile run, getting another PB. So fitness was the peak last year until October 11th, when I was on the sideline due to an injury I picked up on that run. I was on the sideline of my soccer match and I got this horrendous headache. A headache like no other headache I've ever experienced. And I remember my friend telling me that she noticed that I didn't even engage with her. While driving home, I felt like this tingling in my face, and my headache was getting so much worse. And I felt my face was dropping and my mouth very out of sorts. When I arrived home, I said to my husband that I really didn't feel very well, and I dropped to the floor, taking seizures for over 40 minutes. While we waited on the ambulance, I remember thinking back, oh my goodness, am I going to make it? And all I could think of was my 2 children. So the ambulance arrived, took me to Sligo University Hospital, and there I also had multiple seizures. After many CT scans and other tests that were all coming back negative, or clear, as I should say, I was admitted then to the neurology ward at Sligo Hospital. During this time, I was continuing to have seizures, headaches. I had right-sided weakness. My speech was very poor. My swallow was poor. I was basically paralysed on my right side. And I needed one-to-one care for a number of weeks with feeding and care needs. And I was living in a wheelchair. During this time in Sligo Hospital, I had many tests like brain MRI, spinal MRI, heart echoes, EEG, and nothing was showing up. And it was quite scary for me and my family. But a couple of weeks later, I was informed that I have FND, which is Functional Neurological Disorder. I'd never heard of it before. I hadn't ever even heard the word. Thankfully, my sister-in-law and my brother had done some research, and they found out about FND Ireland, which I'll go into in a couple of moments. But I suppose from the point of view of the care that I got at Sligo Hospital, I got access to OT and physio once I was able to sit up. But once that I got to that stage of sitting up, that them supports and those therapies were pulled back a bit. My daily struggles then were memory loss, fatigue, seizures, speech delays, pain and balance issues, and sensory issues. And on my 4th week, the doctors told me that I will need some rehab. Initially, I thought that my only option was Manorhamilton in Leitrim, but with a bit of research, we learned about Ben Bulben Rehab Unit in St. John's in Sligo. And I was accepted there simply because my symptoms were stroke-like symptoms, and that Ben Bulben ward particularly would have stroke patients. And I was transferred there after being 7 weeks in hospital, and I spent 9 weeks further in rehab. And the therapies I received there, which were so important to me, for me and my recovery were OT, physio, speech and language. I had support from a social care worker for myself and my husband. And then to fast forward, at the end of January, there was a discharge meeting where I got to have some opportunities for questions and answers with my disciplinary team. And we spoke about the support I would get. I was going home. And for me, that was a very scary place. I was being cared for 16 weeks in hospital, and then I was being sent home. And although I was excited, the only support that my consultant could get was community physio. I didn't meet the criteria for counselling or psychology support. And I wouldn't get home help was the answer I got when we asked the team. And I think it's because of functional neurological disorder diagnosis. Following a follow-up then was I was told in 3 months they would see me in outpatients. So with the fight again, I had to push for a sooner 6-week follow-up. I then had to transition from my step-down facility to my home, and with that, I was lucky that I was getting my physio and looking forward to that starting at the end of February. However, that never transpired until April, and that was a challenge. I had some setbacks in that time, and including seizures and being back in hospital, and some changes to my leg and my foot, and to the need for me to have neurophysio. For me, I get standard physio in the community, and not neuro, not specialized area. And there's a huge need still for many supports that I need, like neurophysio, OT, speech and language, some neuropsychology, psychologist, physical and sensory, and like a PA or a home assistant. For me, I was lucky to have that step-down facility. Others don't get that opportunity, and I had a good multidisciplinary team that got me back to a walking element. And although Donegal have a facility, Sligo Leitrim can't access that. And we need to access that access here in Sligo and Leitrim and the whole Northwest. But for me, I had to push to even get my physio, like nearly 3 months after leaving hospital. And just to kind of recap, my diagnosis is a huge financial burden on my family. My husband still has to work. I'm not working. My children were without their mum for 16 weeks, and I've come home, but my diagnosis hasn't changed, and my symptoms haven't changed, only that I'm now not confined to a bed or a wheelchair. And I'm actually, as I said, there's huge issues, sensory, and for example, my 8-year-old one day had to assist me crossing the road and telling me how whether it was okay to cross. And for me to access my physio program in my local gym, I need an adult to take me there. Up to last week, I wasn't able to cross that road myself. So I just want to initiate that the need for a neuro team in the Northwest is so important.